company must already have a long-term strategic directions for responding to the climate change issue. How long, how strategic? It must be for the next 50 years. As far as I know, the only company that I've read their strategy on climate change is Shell. No? In their sustainability report entitled Responsible Energy, they presented the 3 energy scenarios for the next 50 years. Now, there's a Chinese company also, China Light and Power. It's not operating in the Philippines, but I really admire this company. I've read their energy strategy for the next 50 years. No? So that is how long-term it is. Now, as far as actually reducing carbon, usually it's the Philippine operation of international companies that have targets for reduction really. No? The other companies would just say that we are measuring, but they don't really communicate the targets for reduction. A good example is Holcim. No? Holcim commits to reduce 20% of its CO2 emission by 2010 with 1990 as reference year. So they're very, very clear on their responsibility. And therefore, they know how to move forward because it's very clear that the targets are measurable. So this is the area of performance, and I know that many of the companies here today are really playing in this area. So we've already mentioned energy efficiency. And then I've read the draft of the papers that will be presented in Copenhagen in December, and it states that energy efficiency should be the core of all national action plans on climate change, that there must be a political push for energy efficiency, come up with national energy efficiency standards, and make organizations accountable for that. Then the other is explore renewable energy. I've already talked about the SMART project. Participate in reforestation. Many companies are already into this. Sequester and capture, and apply offset schemes. So I think LCF should have actually a separate session just on carbon sequestration, carbon schemes, and carbon markets. No? And then the one that I prefer the most is innovate products and services. Because as consumers, after we hear about the dark consequences of climate change, we somehow feel useless, helpless, and a bit guilty. No? But what about if we can use our buying power to make a vote for our planet? No? And companies who are innovating their products and services to respond to the climate change issue is precisely doing that. They are empowering us consumers to make a difference. And of course, we have advocacy. Let me just go to my other slide. This is an example of the energy efficiency responses. So, Ayala lang, it keeps on receiving awards for energy efficiency. I have the Smart Cell site. You have the DEP Forest Multi-Billion Reforestation Project, Bantay Kalikasan. This is Petron's. Team Energy is also into reforestation. And then I think yesterday you heard about what EDC is doing in reforestation and tree planting. Manila Waters and HSBC. This is an organization called ADIA. It's an international organization, the headquarters in the Philippines, and they actually bought actual carbon credits from the market. Executive Director, Mr. Bobby Peralta, is here in the audience now. And this is really innovating on products and services like Petron's Green Innovation, particularly E10, their new product. And when it comes to products and services, we could actually say that today, banks are responding. A growing number of banks today are developing products that will encourage entrepreneurship in the area of clean technology. The first in the Philippines to go climate financing is BPI. This is BPI's Sustainable Energy Fund. A partnership with IFC allows BPI to make available financial support for companies to invest in cleaner technologies, improve generation of energy, energy distribution, and energy use. Then of course, advocacy is very important also because as companies, you have the responsibility to raise the awareness of your stakeholders on the climate change issue, particularly your employees and your customers. So perhaps almost all of us, if not all of us, here in this hall participated in the Earth Hour. So some companies even went to the extent of computing for the energy savings during the Earth Hour. So this is the example of it. But the examples that I've given you today is in no way comprehensive, this list, because I'm sure you can cite other examples. But for your information, the best place to read the climate change response of businesses for Asian companies is this document. It's the Carbon Disclosure Project or the CDP project. No? This is the 2008 report. Read that and you can see what Asian companies are doing to respond to the climate change issue. And this would be in both mitigation and adaptation. Unfortunately, the Philippines is not included in this report. The reason is that in 2007, they started this project and they invited 2 large companies in the Philippines to participate. But unfortunately, these companies did not respond. So we were no longer invited to participate in the 2008 report. But before I got the invitation from Mali to speak in this conference, I asked around. No, I called up my contacts and I asked them if the Philippines got invited to the 2009 reporting process. And I was delighted to learn that one very big Filipino company was actually invited. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this company will respond. So finally, our country will be tracked in this very important document, the best business climate change response in Asia. So I just would like to end my presentation with this quote from the management guru, Michael Porter, on climate change. And he said, companies that persist in treating climate change solely as corporate social responsibility issue rather than a business problem will face the greatest consequences. The effects of climate change on business operations are so tangible that the issue can only be addressed with the tools of the strategies, not the philanthropies. Thank you for this opportunity.